Welcome to the Virginia is for Laughers podcast, brought to you by the funny Womacs and Friends. If you're looking to get more out of your Shenandoah Valley experience, then this is the podcast for you. You'll meet interesting people, musicians, and comedians that perform here and find out more about what you can do and see. Whether you live here or plan to visit, listen to explore what makes our unique slice of heaven. Now here's your host, Don Davis Womack.
Hello, Laughers. Today's guest is Elizabeth Albert, the managing director of the Shenandoah Summer Music Theater here in Winchester, Virginia. With a lifelong passion for performing arts, Elizabeth helps lead one of the region's premier musical professional theater companies dedicated to producing Broadway-style shows while nurturing the next generation of theater artists. Each summer, SSMT brings 3 dazzling productions to life, drawing over 20,000 audience members from across the region. Founded in 1984 as a training ground for the Shenandoah Conservatory, the students here in the theater now unite emerging talent with seasoned professionals to create unforgettable live performances. We're excited to learn more about this season's spectacular lineup and the heartbeat behind the magic. Welcome to the show, Elizabeth. It's great to have you on today.
Thank you so much for having me. And I think I'm going to have you write my bios from now on, because that sounded really good.
It did sound really good. I'm so glad we made it today.
Yes,
we had some technical difficulties,
we
didn't
got it, though. You know, the show's going to go on.
This is, Laughers, I wish we had a recording of what we were going through before we started this thing.
It's probably best we don't.
I agree. Real quick before we get into this, Laughers, I wanted to tell you that we have a free audio book available for you on Audible, because thankfully we got accepted into the Audible Creator Program. And when you get your free book and sign up for a trial, we get a little bit of a kickback that helps us continue to put great content out there for you. So also you get to listen to somebody else besides me between episodes, and that's also delightful.
Variety is the spice of life.
Variety is the spice of life. I wanted to get started to find out more about how SSMT got started. It was so fabulous to me to just Google potential podcast guests, and somehow I happened upon you all. I had never heard of you before, and I can't believe it, since 1984, and I'm just now finding out.
This is our 41st summer. So yeah, it started in the early 80s. The then director of the theater program and the founding artistic director, Harold Herman, had this idea that his emerging theater students needed a professional experience before they left college. And of course, in the 80s, and no internet and everything, it was important to kind of create one here so that it was a controlled environment and the students had an opportunity to experience what it was like working with special guest artists from New York and different maybe choreographers and things that they brought in, but that it was a controlled environment and it was mostly their professors working in a professional setting. So when I was in school, we did 4 musicals in a summer. 4. And he would cast, in true Summerstack form, he would cast a company, and then from the company, he would then cast all of the shows. So we always tell the performers now, we're like, you don't know how good you have it, because he used to post the cast list for the show that started rehearsals the next day when the first show opened. So like on opening night for My Fair Lady, you would learn what you were going to be rehearsing the next morning for Sound of Music. And maybe you're playing Maria and maybe you weren't, but you didn't know. And it was just sort of a, here we go, we're going to pick up and we're going to all learn together. So
it was baptism by fire.
Indeed. But it was more of a professional experience than the actual academic setting. It's, we rehearse long days and then you perform at night. And if you're in multiple shows that are back to back, you might be rehearsing one during the day while you're performing the other one. But since that time, we've evolved, and now it is still a training ground for young theater artists, but we cast our net really wide. It's not just then Shenandoah students. It is young artists that are college age, and they might be studying at University of Michigan and in their great program, or they might be studying at Cincinnati in their great program, or anywhere in the country, really, since we audition online. It's open to anyone to audition. And then we put together the casts from those auditions. So while we do hire our students, and they make up maybe a third of the company, 25% to 30% of the company, now they're getting a true professional experience because they're working with people they don't work with all the time. And so they're in their home base feeling a little comfortable, but they are working with the guy who just is the assistant director from Come From Away on Broadway. Or they might be working with a Broadway actor who has been in The Lion King for 20 some odd years.
That is amazing.
So they get a better professional experience at this point. So,
all right. In that, I have a few questions for you. One of them is for those people that don't have a theater background and don't know all the lingo and that type of thing. When you say at first they hired a company, is that what is a company? Let's talk about that. Let's do that.
Thanks. I sometimes forget that not everybody grew up in a theater. And
Exactly.
So he would hire a company, a troupe of actors. So say he would hire maybe 25 to 30 actors of college age, usually Shenandoah students at that time, and then from that pool. Who knew that they were going to be doing 4 shows. They just didn't know what they were doing in those 4 shows. And then, he would cast the different shows out of that pool of people. So everybody was in every show. You just changed your part depending on the show.
I got it. Okay. Then you started doing the online auditions. When did that start happening?
That started happening in maybe 2015.
So before the pandemic, you were doing that.
Before the pandemic. But I will say that the pandemic and the way our industry adapted to the pandemic is that before the pandemic, doing a video audition was not uncommon, but it wasn't as commonplace as it is now.
Okay.
So after the pandemic, all theater artists know how to self-tape. Everybody's got a phone that can record.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's in your bathroom or in your hallway with your cat jumping around. Like, everybody knows how to self-tape. And that, for me, it's exciting because it expands equity and access. That means you don't have to be a New York-based actor to audition for a job. It means that no matter where you live or what you do on a day-to-day basis, if you're pursuing your professional career and have the skills and talents and want to audition, then you can audition. And it doesn't limit it to those who might have heard of it or seen it in a trade paper.
That is very important information as having a background myself in acting, a little more seasoned, as you maybe can see with this gray hair. That way you would go into a casting office.
Right.
Or a casting room or theater space.
Right.
And the people that were casting for that particular production are in that room and filming it and sending it to the group of people that make the decision on who they're going to basically book for the roles.
Right. And my colleague, my partner, Jeremy Scott Blaustein, who's the artistic director, he watches all the auditions. So we probably get close to 2,000 via our website in our audition submission season. And then we'll post them on Breakdown Express, which is Actors Access. So
I know about that.
He will watch all of those submissions and sort people into piles and try. So he probably watches 4,000 to 5,000 auditions every season. So bless him, because
bless you indeed. What is his name again?
Jeremy Scott Blaustein. Yeah,
we need to give a shout out to Jeremy for sure.
Yep.
I produce comedy shows as well as perform, so I see a lot of videos too. I understand, Jeremy.
Yes, right. But it's great when you think about sort of before this tool was available to us, you had to just make a note and remember. And if you're seeing a lot of auditions, I'm sure like you can relate that if you see a lot of auditions and you write down, loved her, what does that mean? When you look
What
at
did
it,
you love about
what did
her?
you love? And like, what does she write for? We don't know. You didn't write down the right thing. And having a video to be able to go back and look at several times, to share with your colleagues, to share with the other people on the creative team and say, I love this person for this role. What do you think? And maybe the choreographer says, yeah, she's great, but she can't dance the things that I need her to do. Or the music director says, she's a fantastic actor, but this particular note in this particular song is out of her range. So this is not an option, And then all of those people can have feedback and help us put together the right teams.
Yes, and sometimes it's just moving the talent into an alternate role that they may have originally thought might work great for them, but the artistic and creative team see something different.
Indeed.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Now, we were talking a little bit before we recorded about how I discovered you yourself are a lifelong performance artist.
Yes. So I was raised in a family of music teachers, and so I played violin and piano from a very young age. I grew up doing all kinds of theater and a little bit of dance and lots of music. And so when it came time, when I was a teenager, I was very into theater, and I was kind of getting away from the classical instruments that I had learned. But I actually grew up here in Winchester. My parents both taught at Shenandoah University. My father helped found the theater. So my first role on Shenandoah Summer Music Theater's stage was as Gretel in The Sound of Music when I was 7 years old.
That's amazing. I love this.
And I was in several shows as a child performer.
Yeah.
And then when I was a teenager, I worked front of house. I played in the pit orchestra. I went to school here, so I served as an intern. I worked backstage. I've done basically every job that you can do in this particular company, which is exciting to me, and it lets me to relate to everybody and what they're doing.
And so then how did you happen upon this position? Tell us that story.
So I have a degree in musical theater and vocal performance. I went out to pursue my performance career right out of college. And then as things happen, sometimes your day job takes over. And I was working for a national retail chain, particularly during the stock market crash of 2008. I had a good job. I had a steady paycheck with benefits. So we did that for a little while. And I was working for that company and had transferred back to the East Coast when this job became available. And I was actually thinking at that time that it was time for a change, and that I was thinking about pursuing maybe a master's in arts education, just putting my love of the arts and my knowledge of the arts together with my knowledge of management that I got at the School of Hard Knocks, working retail management in downtown Chicago, Illinois. So
that would be intense.
So this job became available, and I thought it's really exactly what I want. It's the best of both worlds. And I was lucky enough to get the job and to really grow and learn in the position, and to see the things that I wanted to honor and keep, and the things we wanted to grow and change and expand. So that's how I came into this position. And I've been here for about 10 years. I'm very grateful.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect fit, really. And just the more, I just happened upon you on the Google. And now here we are. And I just love this story so much. Yeah. You also have some other leadership positions. You are a co-chair on the wellness?
Being Well Together here at Shenandoah Conservatory. So one of the fun things, just for your listeners who are learning a little bit about us, is that we are a professional summer stock company, but we are part of Shenandoah University. So we have, we're a professional company in that everyone is paid for their work during the summer. It is run as a professional company, but we are in an educational institution. And while I'm prepping for that all year long, and we're working on casting and hiring and planning and everything, I also work for Shenandoah Conservatory during the academic season. And part of my job has to do with the theater division or the performances in the conservatory itself. And before the pandemic began, actually, we really started thinking about how the artist's personality is oftentimes naturally very dedicated, very driven, very ambitious, very focused. Well, some of those personality traits can lead us to unhealthy practices.
That is
and
correct.
So I co-chair the Shenandoah Conservatory Being Well Together Committee, and we are focused on how can we make our educational practices, our performance practices, how can we teach ourselves and each other and our students to think holistically about ourselves as people, as humans, and not just performance machines, or not just, somebody who has to do what they have to do no matter what. The show does have to go on, but sometimes it goes on without us, and we started it in 2019. Well, the pandemic hit right after, and it shifted the focus. It shifted what we were talking about, but it didn't shift the fact that we needed to talk about it.
That's right.
That we needed to think about it. So I think these days, our conservatory community, which is about 700 students and 150 professors and another 25 staff, so maybe 800-900 people here on the Shenandoah campus, we understand better and we know better how to balance things, how to listen to our brains and our bodies and our spirits when we say, I've given all I can give right now and I can't give anymore, so I need to leave the practice room, or I need to close my book, or I need to step outside and breathe fresh air, or gosh, I'm not able to focus right now. Maybe I need a meal because I haven't eaten in 10 hours or something.
That can happen too as a performer. You get all in the moment.
Or you think, I'm fine with coffee and Fritos. That'll be a great meal for me and it'll get me through my comedy set tonight. No, it does not. It doesn't do it.
We're shaking our head for the audio listeners.
No. So, we've got a lot of different initiatives and things going on at our part of campus that are trying to help ourselves and each other think a little bit more about what we need to do to take care of ourselves.
I think that's so important because some of the other things that we were talking about before recording is the long days when you're in performance arts, in film too. I remember before I got into film acting and comedy and lots of performing, I remember watching movie stars on, Johnny Carson and other, Jimmy Fallon later. They would just talk about how it was grueling hard work. Right. And I was like, what are you talking about? That looks like a lot of fun. What are you talking about? Then I got into film acting later in life and did House of Cards and Veep. And I mean, you're there hours and hours. So what you're talking about is extremely important in terms of balancing that out.
And nobody,
people don't realize that it is a long day.
It is a long day.
On set or on stage. Yeah.
And the hurry up and wait is exhausting. I mean, it is exhausting. It takes it out of you. And, especially when you're talking about musical theater or physical comedy, these people are athletes. And so they're, having to take care of their bodies and when you're a singer, that's a whole different
the whole vocal care.
Yeah. And so
it's quite something.
When you are tired, not just brain tired, but body tired, things change and your performance changes. And so you have to be able to know, okay, if I have 2 shows today of Singin' in the Rain, which is one of the shows we're doing this summer, it's a big tap show, lots of heavy dancing.
Yeah, I used to tap dance as a kid. Yeah. That's fun.
And those people are going to need fuel. They're going to need hydration. They're going to need rest. So really thinking about like what you need when you are if you're running a marathon or if you are, hiking a mountain or anything else like that.
Be careful. Okay, that's flirting about talking about hiking on the non-hiking podcast.
Okay. I won't mention it again. But anything, you're doing that takes energy out of you, you have to think about how to put energy back in or, restore your reserves.
Yeah. So she mentioned the hurry up and wait. For those of you who've never worked on a film set, that is for real. It happens on stage too. So you're sitting around before the action takes place, for the performance, and it's kind of boring sometimes. But then when things are ready to go,
snap, do it right now, full out.
That production assistant's like, let's go. Everybody now on set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So taking your energy from like, okay, I got to sit and be quiet. I have to sit and be quiet. And then like, no, now full out, do it.
And they're serious too. Yeah. But it costs time and money. So I understand it. I understand when it's time to go, it's time to go. But it is a hurry up and wait situation. But that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have 3 productions coming up this summer.
Yeah.
Talk to me about those.
Yeah. So we are starting with Singin' in the Rain. And that one will run 3 weekends. And yes, it will rain on stage. Don't you worry. The magic will happen. And it's a big tap show. It's that old movie feel. It's bright colors and shimmering costumes. And if you remember the movie with Gene Kelly, it's hilarious. It's funny. It's a lot of fun. So it is sort of accessible for all. It's our family-friendly show this summer. Second, we're doing Little Women, the musical.
Cool.
And that is a beautiful story told with a lot of imagination and sort of a love for reading and stories and family and relationships and sisters. And the music is stunning. And we're very excited about that. I love that book. So I was just over the moon when we were able to choose this one. And then the final show this summer is Million Dollar Quartet, and it is, if you haven't heard of it, it's okay, but it is a show about when Jerry Lee Lewis, Carl Perkins, Elvis Presley, and Johnny Cash were all in Sun Records in the late 50s for one night only. And so the show...
That gave me chills.
I know. The show is just all of their music and kind of their little stories and their backgrounds and everything. And all of those guys, all their hits and all of the actors are playing instruments, playing them live on stage. The guy playing Jerry Lee Lewis does some acrobatics I can't even describe.
In the show. Yeah. They're all playing live on stage for you. And it's just, there's the 4 guys and then there are 2 studio musicians in the recording studio and a couple of other characters to help tell the story. But it is so fun and just a concert hit from top to bottom. I saw it years ago when it started in Chicago when I lived there, and a friend gave me a ticket. And I was in my 20s. I was not real concerned with old country at that time, as I thought of it. And I thought, whatever, free ticket, I'll go. And by the end, I was on my feet. I was dancing with the people next to me. We were having such a great time. So if you love those guys and their music, if you love that era, come on out. It's going to be a party. We're going to have a good time. Oh my gosh, that sounds like an incredible time. I want to see that one for sure. I'm also curious, can you divulge the secret of how you're going to make it rain on stage?
No, I cannot.
You cannot?
No, I cannot. Mostly because I don't know. One of the fun things about summer stock is that everything from top to bottom is created in those 2 weeks before you see the show. Everything. So our technical staff starts on June 3rd. Our rehearsals start on June 11. And then on June 27, you open Singin' in the Rain. And everything is created from top to bottom. We design and create our own sets. We have full live orchestra. We make our own costumes and everything. So like everything, the full package is made in those 2 to 3 weeks before the show opens.
That is crazy fast.
Yeah. It's exciting though. It's really
right.
fun.
What's the energy like around here in the summer? Talk to me about that.
It's great. It's for those of us who do theater, but also maybe have to do other things while we do theater, or students who are studying theater, but you also have to take your English class, or you have to practice your piano, or you have to do something else. It is a time when we get to just do theater, and all day long, all evening. It's a very intense experience, but it's so great to put your heart and soul in you get such a rush and such a soul restoration by doing some of the things that you love to do and working with people who also love to do the things that you love to do, and not also having to worry about some of those other pesky life things that come up at the same time. So
it is fun. Great. I've done stage work also, and you pretty much become a family.
Yeah. Very quickly during the production. And it's so fun. And then the last show is just an amazing celebration of your time together. And then it does get a little bit sad because
you hear them form this group
Yep.
and then people move in their different directions away from that.
Yeah, one of the things about live theater or live performance in general, live comedy, anything, is that it will never be that moment again.
I
It
know.
will never be the same.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if, Phantom of the Opera has run for 20 odd years or whatever.
Yes.
The show you're seeing that night is not exactly the same as the one you saw that your friend saw 10 years ago or 5 years ago or last night. It's a little bit different every time.
Yep.
And that's the joy and the magic for those of us who love live performance. That's the joy and the magic, is that moment is gone. And it was
can
great.
only be made once. And that is absolutely 100% true. We're doing a weekly show now at Massanutten Resort at the Comedy Club. We help launch up there. And that is so true, because each group of people, that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Each group that comes, that creates that audience, is only a one-time situation.
Right.
And they're very much a part of the show, because the connection that's made between the story and or the comedy and the performers with the audience, both audible and inaudible, is real.
Right. They are the other character in the scene.
They really are. Yeah, I think in football, they call it like the 13th man. They call the crowd that comes to watch the live sports entertainment.
Right.
And do they have a name for that in theater?
Well,
do we call it?
I don't know that we call it anything like the 13th man, but we talk about the fourth wall.
Okay.
So, in this style of theater, like we're on a proscenium stage right now, which means that you are looking into a box where we're going to present our story like you aren't there. Like you get to, like the fourth wall is gone. So you get to just watch what's happening in this box. But sometimes that fourth wall is what we call broken, or the people on stage will talk to the audience, or the audience will talk back, or there's an energy, and I think it's different from film, where there isn't where that fourth wall is the camera, and so you're not getting a live energy back from the audience at that time. You're doing something, and you don't know what the audience reaction is necessarily going to be. Well, we can hear it and we can see it. And, the director will say, they're going to laugh at this part. So make sure that you're waiting for that, or you give them some time to do that, so that there is a natural sort of ebb and flow of like, oh, we did it at this pace during rehearsal, but now that we have an audience, we need a little bit more breathing time right there, because there's applause, or there's laughter, or I'm waiting for an interaction, and it's a living, breathing being every time.
I agree with that 100%. My husband, also a comic, and myself, we talk about when you're in the zone as a performer too, and you are connecting with the audience. It's almost a wave, like an ocean wave, back and forth.
Right.
So it's like waving up on the land onto the stage where you are, and it's going back out.
Yeah.
And it feels amazing. When it's happening.
Right.
Yeah, it's exciting. How do you guys go about selecting the productions that you pick? Because if I read it right, and you can tell me if this is correct or not, you don't ever do the same show twice since 1984?
Oh, no. We have repeated titles, but we try not to, in particular, I would say these days, we don't reproduce titles. So
that's what that meant.
Yeah. While we might do, The Sound of Music again, which we have done since I was 7 years old. We have done it in that time, which was a long time. It's not going to be the same production. It doesn't have the same set. It doesn't have the same, costumes. It doesn't have the same actors. It's a little different
because of that whole thing you do where it's all created. It's all created in that time span,
right?
Of and 2 or 3 weeks. 3 weeks, right?
It's 3 weeks in the beginning, and then it's 2 weeks.
Okay, I got it.
The first show gets a little extra rehearsal and a little extra time. So sometimes when we choose our shows, we will pick which one goes first based on what might need the most construction time, or what might need the most rehearsal time, what's the biggest dance show it might need to go first so that it has a little extra time to rehearse, things like that. Okay. But we choose our season kind of based on a formula. We're always looking for something family friendly. And that's not always a children's show, but it's something you could bring your children to.
Okay.
So Singin' in the Rain is not a children's show. It's not written for children.
I'm going to see that too, for sure.
Well, but it is something you could bring your children to. It is not, I don't think there's anything in there that you need to worry about. And it's flashy and fun, and it moves fast, and there's fun music and dance.
So it's PG, really?
It's
or PG-13, maybe?
No. I think it's, oh gosh, now you're calling me out. I'm supposed to know the ratings. I feel like it's PG just because it's more adult focused, but I don't think there's anything in there
like
that
language and all.
Yeah,
that.
No, nothing like that.
Okay.
Little Women is obviously a little bit more of an adult story that children may or may not understand. And so we always look for something a little bit more contemporary, a little bit more of an adult story. And then we look for something golden age, which from the golden age of musical theater is kind of mid 20th century. My colleague would know better. And he's very, oh gosh, he's so great with history and details. And please don't tell my dad I don't know exactly when the golden age of musical theater was. Don't tell him. But it's Rodgers and Hammerstein, and it's Lerner and Loewe and things like that are more from the sort of the beginning of American musical theater as we know it. So Singin' in the Rain is actually our golden age show. So sometimes they hit more than one category. And then Million Dollar Quartet hits, again, sort of fun, contemporary, adult.
And iconic figures, for
and
sure.
that one is PG-13, I do believe, just because I don't think there's any language. There might be one or two.
Okay.
But yes, it's just a little bit more adult. I don't think there's anything in there that would be horrible for a child, 10, 12 to see, but I don't think it would be that entertaining for a 5-year-old,
I got it. So a little something for everybody.
A little something for everybody. And of course, we have season subscriptions, and we love for people to subscribe and see everything. But sometimes people like to pick and choose, and maybe the show
they have
isn't
different
for them.
plans too.
Right. So but one of my favorite things about this theater and this community is that we have season subscribers who have seen all 41 seasons. They've been here from the very beginning. Yeah. And lots who say, I came in 87 and I've been here ever since, like there is some longevity in there.
They have an origin year.
Yes, exactly. They remember when we moved theaters and things like that.
You moved theaters?
Yeah, this opened, the theater we're in right now is the Orchestra and Bryant Theater, and this opened summer of 1998.
Oh, okay.
Yes, 98.
So where were you originally from 1984 to then?
What is now Armstrong Concert Hall, which is across the pond, just a little bit over there on campus. And it was just sort of a utilitarian performance space. It had no fly space. It had no backstage.
What's fly space? Sorry to back up a minute.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Fly space is when like a drop will come down from the ceiling. So if you look at our building now, you see a big tower on the top, and that's because all of our flies just go straight up. So what's behind us is the fly rail. This is where right here for all of you listening.
We're Vanna Whiting it right now.
But that's where your stage crew would be pulling the pulley system to pull things in and out. I had no fly system. It had no wing space, which is the bits on the side of the stage where scenery might live or things might come from. Actors enter and exit from. We didn't really have a backstage. We kind of changed in a classroom for our dressing room.
It's nice to have a backstage.
Yeah. So this building was in the works for many years. And again, Harold Herman and the then president, James Davis, did a lot of work to make this happen. Opened in 1998. I was actually in that performance as well.
Really?
It was The Wizard of Oz, and I was tree number 3. So
tree number 3.
I was, yeah. But
what a standing performance!
Yes, but very exciting. Like this space has a pit that is on hydraulics. So our orchestra is mostly under the stage, but there's a front part of the stage that can come up and down, and all kinds of bells and whistles that in 1998 we were so excited to get. So
that is really incredible. I love that you have so many followers that come year after year.
Yeah.
You have a lot of people that come within 150 mile radius to hear. What kind of marketing strategies work really well for you all to draw those people in that you've found out?
That's an interesting question, because obviously things have changed in the past.
And they are again.
And they are again. They are still, they will ever be changing. But, you know, I would say 20 years ago, there were a lot of newspaper articles and ads. There was a lot of radio that reached that kind of radius. And those things are still important, but now we have podcasts.
Yeah.
And we have social media and we have, you know, we have word of mouth. So how do you, honestly, when someone says, there's this cool thing to do, let's buy tickets and go do it, you want to go with a friend. And
it's very fun to do live performances with a friend. Yeah.
Right. So you want someone who says, hey, I heard about this thing, or I have been before, or would you like to go see? And so I think word of mouth is probably still our best advertiser.
Yeah.
And when we have so many people out in the community who come every year, who bring their family, bring their kids, are now bringing their grandkids, you know, things like that. We also have a lot of groups from over in Northern Virginia or Harrisonburg or Frederick, Maryland or Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, and Hagerstown that will, maybe from different senior centers or different organizations, will bring a bus.
Oh, great idea.
You know, on a weekday matinee as something fun to do for the group. Or we'll organize like somebody who has is part of an organization that loves Elvis Presley, right? Then they're going to put together a group and come, and we have special pricing for groups and things like that.
Good.
So, I think it's, you know, it's ever evolving, but we're always looking for different ways to reach people and to say, hey, did you know about this? Why don't you come up and see a show?
Absolutely.
So we're grateful to talk to you about it.
I'm grateful to be talking to you about it. How big is this theater?
Yep.
Can you talk to us about that?
It holds 610 people, and it's what we call a proscenium theater. So all the seats are in front of the stage versus like on the sides or around. 2/3 of our seating are stadium style, so they're raked up a little bit. So if you're somebody like me, I'm 5'2". I don't like to sit in the bottom third because I might be behind somebody I can't see over.
Yeah.
I like the back third, but that does require climbing some stairs. So about 1/3 of our seating is what we call the lower orchestra, which is accessible without any stairs.
Okay. That's a beautiful theater, Laughers. You should definitely check it out if you haven't already. I'm excited about this. What are some standout milestones to you in the history? Gosh, that's such a great question for you because your father started the theater. You've performed your first performance at 7, and now you are running it.
Oh, gosh.
Interesting question for you.
That's a stumper a little bit.
Know.
I love... my first summer was 2015. First summer in this position was 2015, so that will always be special to me. And I feel like that was the first summer that actually my dad took over as artistic director, as Harold Herman needed to retire, and deserved to retire, of course. Like he had done so much in those, whatever that was, 35 years or 40 years. But my dad took over as artistic director. That was a pleasure to be able to work alongside him for a few years, was really special before he retired. And one of his last shows that he did that actually my colleague Jeremy Scott Blaustein directed in 2019 was the musical Ragtime. And first of all, I love the show. I love the music. It was so beautiful. Sometimes I would stand backstage and just sing the score with them just because it's so gorgeous and I wanted to be a part, but they don't need to know that. And
they might hear it.
They might. I know. Sorry, Dad. And I just thought that show was beautiful. It was beautiful for sort of where we are in our American experience, just to remind us that like we are a melting pot, and we have if you know the musical, there are 3 different sort of groups, and different Americans, and sort of how they all interacted in the early 1900s, right before World War I. And just to think about like what life is like 100 years later, and has much changed or how much has changed. And again, the music is stunning, and I just loved that show. And then Jeremy, who directed that show, ended up taking over as the artistic director the next year. So like it was a really nice sort of passing of the baton, although Jeremy doesn't conduct and my dad did. So I think that was really special. I also think, as much as I don't really want to ever go back to the pandemic or how we had to deal with art or making art during those times, I was so proud of how many alumni and different people responded when we said, okay, we can't do a summer season in 2020. That's not going to happen. But we're going to do some video series, and we're going to do some little songs. And would you record this from your apartment in Brooklyn, or would you record this from your house in Richmond, Virginia? And all these different people from all over who had worked at SSMT many different years, many different seasons said, you got it. I'll do it.
Oh, that's amazing.
It was just so fun to connect in that way and to make sure that we still had a voice and that we were still saying, art matters.
It does matter.
We'll just take a breather, and here's a little bit from us to you, but we'll take a breather and we'll be back next year. So, and then I was really, really proud of the university and the fact that in 2021, the university had used the big athletic center on campus to have a regional vaccine clinic at the time. And because we had that and were able to help the community with that, the president of the university said, we got to do SSMT this summer in 2021. And
it was like social distance shows like we did. So you had people sitting 6 feet apart and they could sit with their person, but
not other stranger.
We did the same thing.
And, we did one show and ran it all summer because it was a different time and a different environment, but I was proud that we were able to, get back out there, do something for the community, and make sure that that we were still providing joy at that time.
And creating.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. I want to ask you about, how do the students that work here in the summer and those that are hired to work here in the summer live and play when they're not creating here?
Sure.
Yeah.
So we house most of our folks who come from, if they're not Shenandoah students or they don't happen to have an apartment in town or don't live in town, they stay in one of our dorms. So even grown-ups who haven't stayed in a dorm in a long time might stay in a dorm. And so they live, on campus, close to the theater, etc. But we always have one day off a week where it's completely free, and usually it's Mondays. So we put together packets and websites of interest of like, hey, check this out. Go look at this. Go look at there's some fun things to do, or there's, go rafting on the Shenandoah River, or go wine tasting if you're of age, or, things like
I like
that.
The caveat.
Just
very good.
I have to, be careful. But we encourage them to get out and explore the area because, first of all, when you spend all your life inside windowless rooms, dark rooms, creating a theater, it's important to get outside and remember that there's something else out there. Also, this is a beautiful area.
For sure.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I left for about 10 years in the middle and I came back for a reason. This is home, and there's so much that has grown in the past, 10, 20 years. I mean, my goodness, so many options, but we encourage them to get out and play and live a little bit. So they get down to Old Town Winchester, which has tons of great restaurants and local shops and everything.
Very fun down in Old Town Winchester. I love to visit. Yeah. That's really good. So that happens once they get hired. Someone on your staff kind of walks them through that whole process.
Me. I'm the
you're the person.
Yeah, it's me. So managing director is a title, but I really am the company manager. I am the company HR director. I am, just kind of anything that has to do with the running of the company outside of like creating the art on stage. So my colleague, the artistic director, is in charge of the art. I'm in charge of the how does it happen. So all things like marketing, front of house, logistics, travel, housing, all of that stuff, that's me. So I create a little like internal website for us, and it has all kinds of resources and information, and everybody that we hire has access to it. So if they're like, what did she say about how do I do laundry? It's got that information. Or she said something about this kind of activity. There's a tab that says things to do or leisure activities. And we just pop links in there so they can take a peek.
An internal website. What did you do? Create that on Wix or WordPress or
Google.
something?
Google, you can create a website on Google. And we're a Google-based campus, so we have access to all the G Suite. So you can create a little internal website. And it's only accessible to those that you share it with.
Okay. I just learned something new. Maybe I think people know more about G Suite than I do right now. I'm just starting to learn more about it. Maybe that's common knowledge. It can do a website. Is that common knowledge? They can do internal websites?
I'm not going to lie. One of the students taught me 4 or 5 years ago. So
all right.
It's the joy of working with Gen Z is that they're going to know things.
I know. Yeah. Does AI have any involvement in the summer music theater yet? It just came to mind. Not yet.
No. Live performance and the creation of art and AI are not, I would say, not hand in hand at this time. So I don't know what the future holds, but we want to make sure that art is created by humans and we celebrate that creation.
I love it. How will people find out about the summer music theater productions that you're going to put on, not just this season, but in future seasons? Sure. I found out on your website's the best idea, right?
Our website is SSMTVA.org, and that has obviously links to the shows that we're doing this season, but it also has links to view past productions. You can see photos and videos from past productions and things. So if you're like, well, what kind of show am I going to be seeing? Or what is this going to look like? Or I love Broadway. What am I going to experience here? What does the theater look like? There are media so that you can explore that. And you can learn a little bit more about the history. You can learn about supporting us. You can learn about buying tickets, etc. So that's all on the website. And then our socials are SSMTVA on Facebook and Instagram as well.
That's really amazing. One quick question before we get out of here. Thanks for sharing the socials. We'll be putting that information in their website in the show notes for you all as well. So if you're working out or driving, don't worry about it. You can get and snag that information in there. One last question before we close out. If someone's never been here before, what would you say to them about why they should come?
I think if you've never been here before, I think it is a jewel that it's not hidden. We're not hiding anything.
They're not. They're conveniently located off I-81. It took a minute, literally, to drive off of the exit to where we are.
Right. But I think once you find the jewel, you will come back and you'll want to bring family and friends.
Parking is good.
Parking is good. We've got our concession stand is open. We've got beer, wine, alcohol. We've got snacks. We've got all kinds of things. You can come early, have a bite before the show, enjoy live performance. And I think it's fun to, we have alumni from the program from Shenandoah Summer Music Theater who are now on Broadway or who are in Broadway national tours.
Great.
So sometimes you might see somebody when they're 20, 21 years old, and then 5 years later you think, I've seen that kid before. I know this face. And it's because now they're in Harry Potter on Broadway and they were in Cinderella here 3 years ago. So I think it's exciting to see new and emerging talent. It's exciting to see some of our Broadway colleagues who like to come visit and hang out and who also think it's important to work with young artists. And I think it's exciting to see. I love musical theater, obviously. So if you like that kind of thing, come see us. But I think it's a fun afternoon or a fun evening. It's right in your backyard in the Shenandoah Valley. Yeah. Or if you're coming from a more populated area such as Northern Virginia, come out and play with us and maybe stay a night and take in the sights and take a breath from the city traffic. It's really nice.
I love it. Well, this has been so super fun. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Dawn. It's been so much fun.
It has been. I love that you came on here to share with us all things the Shenandoah Summer Music Theater.
My pleasure.
Yes, my pleasure as well. So laughers, be sure to check them out. And also, thank you for tuning in today. I love you guys so much. This community keeps on growing and we're going to evolve together as we do this thing. So if you enjoyed this podcast today, be sure to share, tell a friend about it. That's how we all find out about all these cool cool things to do in the Shenandoah Valley. So let's all have more fun together and do that. Also remember that you can get that free audiobook from Audible by going to that link in the show notes. And it does give us a kickback to the podcast, but it also means that we can create more content for you. And lastly, and most importantly, thanks for tuning in, Laughers. Out of all the podcasts out there, you picked us, and we think that's pretty darn special, just like you. Until next time, keep smiling. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Virginia is for Laughers podcast, brought to you by the Funny Womack and Friends. We'll be dropping a new podcast every Wednesday, so check back for another uplifting episode. Come to a FWAF show or let us bring one to you. To find out more, head to thefunnywomacks.com. Be sure to share this podcast with a friend, and until next time, cheers.